What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield 2.0 in 9mm. Nothing new, but it is a little bit new to me. Been running this thing for about a year now. I'm not carrying it every day, carrying it just every once in a while when I need a deep concealment type firearm. So let's dive into it and take a look. This handgun is chambered in 9mm. I believe they offer it in 380 as well. It's a little snappy, but that's indicative of a short-barreled firearm like this. But I wouldn't say that it's unusable, especially with that grip. I definitely was able to control the gun and get good follow-up shots quickly and effectively. All right, it ships from the factory with 2 magazines, one being a 7-shot, the other being an 8-shot. And as you can see, there is a little grip plate on the bottom of this one. Now that does just slide up like this so that you can take that all the way off if you wanted. Not sure why you would want to do that, but you can. I prefer it in the configuration with the larger one, the larger magazine, just because I can get a full firing grip on the gun. With the smaller magazine, you do get that pinky hang just a little bit there. Let's see if I can get a better angle. Yeah, so it's just a little bit small with the 7-shot magazine in there. All right, guys, let's dive into the nitty gritty. And the first thing that I noticed about this handgun was out of the box, the trigger was super gritty. However, just like any dude that picks up a power tool, like a power drill, where you like 15 times, it did break in. Now it is what I would call decent. It's not great by any means, but this is designed to be a deep concealed carry gun. So it does have a little bit heavier trigger, which is indicative of a carry gun. Now, if you guys are into the whole dry fire thing, which everybody should be, you can reset the striker, or if you just want to practice getting that take up and hitting that wall, you can reset the trigger. It doesn't reset the striker, but the trigger does reset on its own, which is pretty neat. So one of the first things I did with this gun, which is actually going to be for my wife to carry, is I gave it to her and I said, hey, just sit down, take some time out of your day and just practice dry firing this. Just get used to what the trigger feels like to pull it over and over and over. One, it's going to break it in, which I have seen. Like I said, out of the box, trigger was super gritty. I've checked out some other M&P Shield EZs. They did not have a gritty trigger like this, but out of the box this one did. But again, over time it's broken in. It's pretty nice now. So I just sat my wife down and said, hey, just take some time, pull the trigger over and over and over, get used to it. It's got the standard 3-dot sights on there. They do not glow. It doesn't really have the setup for a light on it. But you have to take in mind, this is not going to be a gun that you're going to carry all the time. This is a deep concealment type firearm. Again, if you're a smaller person or if you're a bigger person, you're trying to deep conceal, maybe you're wearing basketball shorts or something like that. They do have a belly band holster for these, which is great. If I'm going to go out, maybe go for a run or something like that, and I still want to have a firearm on me, this is what I take, put it in a belly band holster, pull my gym shorts up over it. You're not going to have that quick draw capability. You're not going to have a weapon light on it. So you are going to be limited, but that does not mean that it's not a viable option. Any handgun is better than no handgun. Surprisingly, it does have a functional slide release. So it was stiff out of the box, but over time, as I've done some mag changes with it, I've noticed that I can actually charge the gun with that slide release. If you don't, you can obviously go over the top like normal, but it's not every day that you see a small subcompact handgun that has a functional slide release on it, which I think is awesome. Overall, the controls are slimline, but still functional in regards to the mag release and that slide release. They're not bulky, they don't stick out. It does have some pretty functional slide serrations on the back here. Another thing I wanted to note is the slide spring is a little stiff. So whereas the size of this handgun could be good for a smaller person or for a female, it is a little hard to manipulate. It's not overly hard, but I would say that this slide is harder to rack than a lot of my full-size guns. So that seems a little counterintuitive. Now I know that they have the EZ line now, which is fantastic. They do have easy to manipulate slides, and the magazines are easier to load. That's another thing that I wanted to note, is that these magazines are pretty hard to load. I can't tell if my wife doesn't want to break her nails or if she really needs me to load the magazines because she can't push down on the springs. But that's something to bear in mind, that if you are giving this to your wife or girlfriend or whatever to use, or if they're buying one, just keep in mind it's a little hard to push these down. Now they do break in, so go ahead. It would probably be okay because they'll break in over time. Now, they do have that easy line out. I've got the handle one. I haven't shot one yet. They're a little bit different, but they are very, very popular. I've heard really good reviews about them. And they have a little tab where you can push down on the spring, which I think is lighter, and then load your rounds in so that you're not fighting that follower with the spring behind it. The grip texture on this handgun is phenomenal. It feels like a stippled handgun. It does not feel like what factory texture has been for the last 40 years. Feels like they took this and stippled it with a soldering iron, which I know sounds janky, but actually is more functional than most factory texture. But I have to say, this works, and they even put it on the extended base plate on the bottom here, which is awesome. So I have no problems gripping this handgun. In terms of how it performs, I found this gun to be super accurate. First shot out of the box, I actually told my wife, I said, hey, watch me miss, and I'm gonna look like an idiot here. But I actually hit a $half size circle from 7 yards, first shot out of the box, so I was happy with it. It continued to be accurate. I wouldn't say it's as accurate as some of my other firearms, but for a subcompact, it can definitely get the job done. It does have a chamber indicator, which is just a hole in the top so you can look down and see that there is a round chambered if that's your thing. And most importantly, in terms of reliability, I've had 0 failures to feed, 0 failures to fire, or failures to eject. I have been running pretty much standard brass through it. I haven't run any steel case through it. It does like the Hornady Critical Defense in terms of carry ammunition, so I have to say the reliability is there on this handgun. Last but not least, it looks the part. It is a very sharp looking firearm. It is slim, it is concealable, it does not look like a brick. Now I want to throw in a little caveat. In terms of carrying this firearm, I have noticed if you go with a belly band style holster where you can slide up and down in terms of where the gun is positioned, that is key. If not, I would say go with a pancake style holster that you can carry in the 4 o'clock position that is on the outside. So it is an outside concealment holster. This gun is very small, and with those pancake holsters, they're super thin. It is concealable that way. I wouldn't say to do that with a full-size gun because you're going to have that grip sticking out. But the reason for that is the fact that the muzzle on this is so short that I've talked about this in previous videos, where you don't quite have the pelvic contact with the length of slide and barrel to keep it from tipping out of your pants. Now, if you're a really skinny person, it would probably work for you, but if you have any type of belly, what you're gonna notice is that when it is sitting inside of your waistband, it is going to want to naturally tip forward because it doesn't have the length here to stay pushed against your pelvis so that it can't tip out. So one of the things that you can do is get a custom holster that is longer. You're gonna have to work with the company though and say, hey, I specifically want this to be longer than it's supposed to be so that I can get that pelvic contact. Or else if you're carrying appendix and they just cut it for the length of the slide and barrel, it is probably going to tip forward. Now that's my personal opinion. There's other folks out there that might say different, but that's just what I've noticed in trying to carry this in the appendix position. Also, it is a deep concealed firearm, so if you're going to carry it down lower to get that pelvic contact, you're probably going to sacrifice some of your grip. Now, again, this gun is purpose driven, so taking that into consideration, you have to know what this is built for. It is a deep concealment handgun. It is not made to be a sub 1 second draw and fire handgun. If you could do that, that's great, but you're probably going to sacrifice some grip whenever you're carrying it, and you're probably going to have a little bit harder of a time getting that firing grip and drawing from the holster to fire than you would a full-size gun or a compact size gun like a Glock 19. That doesn't mean it's bad. Like I said, any gun is better than no gun. So to me, that means it's still a viable option. You just have to know the limitations of the handgun and be cognizant of that if you're going to use it to save your life. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you think of the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield in 9mm. Would you carry it? Do you carry it? Would you never carry it? Would you give it to your wife to carry? Let me know what you think, guys. And as always, keep shooting.